For weeks, thousands of Russian soldiers had been amassing on the border. Vladimir Putin told the world they were only there for exercises. No one believed him. Then on the 24th of February 2022, in the middle of the night, he sent his troops across the border and into Ukraine, a country that had never attacked Russia.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. И для этого мы будем стремиться к демилитаризации и денацификации Украины, а также преданию суду тех, кто совершил многочисленные кровавые преступления против мирных жителей, в том числе и граждан Российской Федерации. Призываю вас немедленно сложить оружие и идти домой.
This war was completely unprovoked. The Russian invaders attacked Ukraine from 3 different sides. From Belarus in the north, from occupied Crimea in the south, and from Russia proper in the east. In the north, Russian invaders attacking from Belarus were rushing towards Kyiv. They quickly captured the Chernobyl nuclear power plant before continuing their attack south. They would soon reach the outskirts of the Ukrainian capital. Watching the destruction caused by the Russian invaders on TV is one thing, but it is an entirely different experience to witness firsthand the extent of the devastation they have caused. As you leave the beautiful city of Kyiv and venture into the recently liberated areas, the stark reality of war becomes impossible to ignore. The landscape is studded with shattered buildings and ruined homes, a poignant reminder of the violence that has ravaged the region. But it is not just the visible destruction that one must contend with. Even small forests hold a hidden danger, as bright red signs warn of uncleared minefields lurking just out of sight. This is Makariv, where one of the fiercest battles in the Kyiv Oblast took place. On February 27th, Ukrainian civilians alerted the armed forces of Ukraine that a massive column of Russian tanks, armored personnel carriers and vehicles had passed through the town of Makariv. Reports indicated that these convoys were heavily armed with flamethrowers, missiles, self-propelled artillery and fuel, signaling their intent to cause widespread destruction. Later that same day, fighting broke out in Makariv, as Russian forces made a brazen attempt to reach Kyiv through the town. Disturbingly, reports from Ukrinform suggested that the Russian invaders used women and children as human shields, placing them on top of their personnel carriers. Ukrainian forces engaged in heavy fighting with the Russian invaders near Makariv. The Russian column was composed of 15 tanks, 25 armored personnel carriers and 15 Ural vehicles, organized into 3 convoys. The Ukrainian forces, which included the 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade and the 95th Air Assault Brigade, were able to repel the Russian advance and ultimately recaptured the town of Makariv. The fighting continued for several weeks and the town remained under constant shelling from Russian forces. On the 22nd of March, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense announced that Makariv had been fully liberated. However, the town's mayor stated that it was not yet possible for civilians to return. It was reported that a Russian tank commander, Colonel Yuri Medvedev, was run over by his own troops during the battle. He would later be hospitalized and is possibly dead. We don't know because we don't get any information from the Russians.
Just take a look. The whole through engine under the tower.
Oh yeah, you can see the hole.
Yeah.
Where it.
After the region was freed, it came to light that the Russian occupying troops had committed a gruesome act of violence, taking the lives of more than 200 innocent civilians in Makariv. The atrocities included torture, murder of the elderly, and execution-style shootings of individuals with their hands bound behind their backs. The discovery of these heinous acts of violence left a deep scar in the community and serves as a stark reminder of the Russian occupation.
And all of these were from the convoy?
Yeah.
Wow.
The convoy was like a few times bigger. The tail of the convoy was behind the corner.
Yeah.
I found some picture which you made in the very beginning. There is a dead Russian body. You see?
Yeah, so holy shit, there's not much left of him.
In that one.
In that one here?
Yeah. I remember that till the end of the, maybe the end, but maybe the middle of the summer, in some bushes, local dogs found some dead Russian bodies.
That must have been a grim sight.
And by the way, here is body armor. You see? It's a Kevlar material.
That is here, right?
Yeah, it's a Kevlar from body armor. So it means that it was someone.
Yeah. Are bodies still being found to this day, or?
No.
I can tell you, I wouldn't want to be in any of these vehicles.
Sorry, what?
I wouldn't want to be in any of these vehicles.
As we journeyed towards Andriivka from Makariv, the desolate landscape left little room for hope. The once beautiful village now lay in ruins, with only a handful of homes left standing. The Russian invaders had left their mark here, leaving deep trenches in the backyards of homes and taking refuge in the basements of innocent civilians. It was a chilling sight, with the looming threat of uncleared mines deterring us from venturing too close to the trenches themselves.
On the left side here is artillery shells. You see?
Oh yeah, I see them. But people, have they decided to like move back here?
Sorry, what? People?
Have they decided to like move back into this city, you said?
Some of them, yeah. Most part of them, you know?
Yeah. And I guess this is the remnants of...
Ukrainians usually the farmers. So we usually we want to come back to our own land, our own houses. So
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
see the question mark
Yeah.
and the sign mine, mines. mines inside.
So don't go in there.
Yeah.
But this was, there was a lot of Russian positions in this city.
So the trenches, unfortunately, to be honest, I don't want to go in the area of some people, yeah?
No.
But exactly on their backyards, they were Russian trenches.
All over the place?
Yeah. Just imagine. Not in the field, in the backyards.
Yeah.
So, which is not according to the Geneva Convention. They use living apartments as a shield.
And people were still living there at that point.
Some of them.
Yeah.
I spoke with one old lady who stayed here for all of that period, and till the time when her house was totally burned, and she lived in her basement together with Russians who decided not to stay in trenches, who decided to stay with her in the basement. Like, they even use a basement with civilians. Firstly, it was destroyed by Russian forces when they arrived here. But after that, they built their trenches, their positions. They start to shell by artillery to another Ukrainian cities, settlements and towns. And Ukrainian artillery start to destroy their positions. So also here were some street fights during the occupation. So yeah, that's why here's like 3 reasons why that village is so highly destroyed. And also I heard information that the nearest village, street, on the nearest street, Russians killed 8 men just because of the Russian forces found mobile cell phones and batteries for the charging of the cell phones in their houses.
And that was enough?
Yeah, because they potentially can send information about Russian forces.
Even after a year, the traces of the Russian V that were painted on the walls by the occupiers can still be seen in some of the homes they had occupied. However, the resilience and determination of the people who survived their reign of terror are evident in the fact that many of these walls have now been washed clean, erasing the mark of oppression and restoring a sense of dignity and pride to the community. The cruel occupation of this village, like so many others, resulted in the tragic loss of innocent lives. Shockingly, possessing a simple cell phone was enough to become a target for the ruthless occupiers. The memories of those who were so unjustly taken still haunt the community to this very day. Leaving Andriivka, the road north takes us to Borodyanka.
So it's not two separated buildings, it was one building, for example.
Yeah.
Here also you see, here was the corner of the building. It's not artillery shells, it's not like small arms, it's air bomber. That one building you can go closer. From the rooftop to the second floor, that building totally destroyed in the middle.
Have people been here to like collect their stuff from their apartments?
Yeah, some of them, yeah. And even in that one building, in that side of the building, people are still living.
Also, they are living there?
Yeah.
In the part that's not been affected? Were people in these buildings once they were bombed?
Some of them, yeah.
But there's no like military strategic reason to do this. Ruskimir.
Before the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Borodyanka was a peaceful town with a population of roughly 13,000. But when the Russian army advanced towards Kyiv, this small town on a strategically important road became a target of numerous airstrikes. Despite being heavily bombarded, the people of Borodyanka refused to give up. They fought fiercely to defend their homes and their families, but the Russian army showed no mercy whatsoever. On the evening of March 1st and the morning of March 2nd, Russian aviation destroyed 8 multi-story residential buildings, leaving at least 40 innocent civilians dead. The town was hit with FAB-250 airdrop bombs, multiple rocket launchers and cluster munitions. The Russian soldiers seemed to show a particular cruelty, firing at night when the maximum number of people would be at home. Most devastatingly, many residents were buried alive by the airstrikes and lay dying for up to a week. Those who tried to help them were shot at by Russian soldiers.
Take the first exit.
Despite the horror, some residents refused to surrender. They hid in caves for 38 days, determined to survive and protect their homes. But as the Russian convoy moved through the town, Russian soldiers fired through every open window. At least 200 people were killed and countless more were injured, leaving only a few hundred residents remaining by the time the Russians withdrew. Yet, amidst the ruins, a small symbol of hope emerged. On May 2nd, the State Emergency Service of Ukraine rescued a small cat from the 7th floor of a destroyed building. The cat had survived for about 2 months without food and without water, becoming a symbol of the indomitability of the Ukrainian people in the face of unspeakable tragedy. The remnants of Borodyanka serves as a powerful reminder of the unrelenting violence inflicted upon the Ukrainian people by Vladimir Putin's forces. Amidst the rubble, a story of resilience and determination unfolds as the citizens of Ukraine continue to stand firm in their resolve to heal and rebuild their shattered communities, ultimately transforming them into symbols of hope and courage. As we drove away from Borodyanka, the heart-wrenching aftermath of the Russian invasion was etched into every mile of the landscapes known in Ukrainian as Polisia. The serene forests and fields, once the pride of Ukraine, were now dotted with the despicable remnants of the enemy's brutal reign. Russian trenches lined the road like a scar on the face of Mother Nature. We made a stop just south of the village of Savinki, where the enemy had set up their base. It was a chilling sight. to see how they had lived, eating and sleeping in the same trenches that were meant for war. The trenches seemed to run endlessly, a constant reminder of the enemy's presence that once loomed over the peaceful village. As we walked along the trenches, the debris left behind by the invaders was everywhere. It was a disgraceful display of the enemy's disrespect for the land they had occupied. The area was still dangerous, and we had to be very cautious not to step on a mine, as we were actually walking around in an uncleared minefield. But in one of the trenches, we found this Russian MRE. It's basically a Russian lunchbox. You can see here it says Armée Russia. I decided to bring this back as a souvenir, a symbol of the triumph of the Ukrainian people over the enemy who had tried to break their spirit. It is a small token of victory, a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable adversity, the Ukrainians had persevered.
How long is these trench systems? How far does it continue?
Who knows?
We then set our course towards Bucha, a town that will forever be remembered as the site of unspeakable atrocities committed by the forces of Vladimir Putin.
I'm in Bucha right now, and behind me are many of the civilian cars that were destroyed by Russian forces. Many of them had people in them when they were destroyed. You can see bullet holes in the vehicles, holes from shrapnel, but many holes in these vehicles were made by small arms fire, which means that the Russians who shot them close, so they would have known that civilians were in these vehicles, but they still decided to shoot them. This pile of rubbish is basically what is left of the Bucha massacre to this day. All this destruction caused by Vladimir Putin.
The horrors inflicted on the people of Bucha by the invaders are some of the most heinous of the entire conflict. The memories of the victims still haunt the town, their pain etched into the very walls of the buildings.
Ми тут бачимо зараз тіла на вулиці. Багато такого в Бучі?
На тій стороні Івана Франка, то люди вже почали самі ховати в дворах там просто. А це перший раз вийшов сюди, пройтися, подивитися, що до чого.
Які зараз емоції у вас?
Та які тут емоції? Жах, одним словом.
In a heroic battle for their homeland, on February 27th, Ukrainian forces faced a formidable Russian onslaught as paratroopers, tanks, and special police units advanced into the embattled city of Bucha. The relentless Russian attack wreaked havoc on buildings and infrastructure, leaving many residents without utilities. Undeterred by overwhelming odds, brave citizens of Bucha joined forces with the Ukrainian military, valiantly fighting back using Molotov cocktails to halt the Russian advance towards Irpin. Ukrainian forces unleashed a storm of rocket and artillery bombardments and airstrikes, reportedly destroying more than 100 Russian equipment units. Against all odds, by March 3rd, the resilient Ukrainian forces recaptured Bucha, restoring electricity and pushing the Russian invaders to the city's outskirts. Despite the regained control, the fierce struggle continued as Russian forces launched relentless attacks, causing civilian casualties and impeding the evacuation effort. Finally, on March 29th, a glimmer of hope emerged when Russia announced a reduction in military activity around Kyiv. Amidst a general Russian withdrawal, the courageous Ukrainian forces moved into Bucha on March 31st, engaging in heavy combat with Russian troops. By April 2nd, the embattled city of Bucha was triumphantly reclaimed from Russian forces as the steadfast Ukrainians continued to press the attack against the retreating enemy. As Ukrainian forces heroically reclaimed the city of Bucha, they were met with a tragic sight, uncovering heinous war crimes committed by the Russian invaders. 20 lifeless bodies strewn across the streets, at least one bound at the hands. The town's courageous mayor, Anatoly Fedoruk, disclosed that a mass grave held about 280 souls. Renowned news outlets reported the heart-wrenching devastation encountered by the returning Ukrainian forces, streets littered with bodies, chilling evidence of execution-style killings of civilians, mass graves, and the lifeless bodies of innocent children. In one horrifying discovery, 18 mutilated bodies of men, women, and children bore signs of unspeakable torture in a basement. Brave residents and the mayor confirmed the Russian troops' culpability for these barbaric acts. Many victims appeared to have been mercilessly killed while carrying out mundane daily tasks. Evidence pointed to a systematic and ruthless targeting of Ukrainian civilians by the Russian forces, with numerous bodies found with their hands cruelly bound behind their backs. Fearless civilians shared their harrowing experience of the occupation with Human Rights Watch. Russian soldiers went door to door, interrogating people, annihilating their possessions, and looting. Civilians faced a hail of bullets when venturing out for basic necessities, while Russian troops callously denied medical aid to the injured. Snipers preyed on civilians, and armed vehicles would indiscriminately fire into buildings. Yablonska Street remains a poignant reminder of the brutality of Vladimir Putin's soldiers. As Ukrainian forces liberated the area, they came across several lifeless civilians strewn along the side of the road, victims of the brutal occupation. Even a year later, driving down this street is a somber experience, as memories of the horrors endured continue to echo through the air.
And what was the street called again?
Yablunska.
Yablunska.
Just around the corner from Yablonska Street stands a building that once housed the Russian invading forces. This unassuming structure was transformed into a makeshift prison and chamber of torture during the occupation. It was here that the true extent of the invaders' cruelty was revealed. In the dark, damp basement of this building, Ukrainian civilians were discovered, their hands bound and their lives extinguished by cold, calculated gunshots to the head. This chilling scene serves as a testament to the atrocities committed and the immense suffering that the people of this town had to endure.
And here were positions of Russian mortar battery. You know what is it, mortar?
Yeah, I know. Here in the grass.
Yeah. Here was a mortar battery. Few of mortars. Almost each building, each house was looted by Russians.
Yeah.
You can see by the fence. I mean that most part of the fence they were destroyed by Russian armored vehicles.
Yeah.
In the process of when they looted. And unfortunately, in some backyards of the houses, we found a few graves, which made by neighbors, you know. So Russian loot everything from the house, killed the owner, and neighbors just organized a grave for him exactly in his own backyard, you know,
They're acting completely like medieval.
Yep.
There's just a bunch of looters and robbers.
Upon reaching the incomplete Church of St. Andrew the Apostle, we were met with a structure marred by countless bullet holes. A short distance behind the church, a modest monument stands. This marks the site of Bucha's largest mass grave, where approximately 300 innocent civilians were interred. They had all fallen victim to the barbarity of Vladimir Putin's forces. Although the mass grave has been filled with dirt once more, its outlines remain visible. The civilians have since been exhumed and given proper burials, honoring their memory in the face of such a tragedy.
When I was here first time, in that trench were already 170 dead bodies.
Horrific.
From the old period of Russian occupation. Do you want to visit the monument?
Yes, I would.
Because sometimes it's closed, sometimes it's open, so that's why I'm asking, because right now it's open.
Is it the monument to those who died in the...
There are the monument, like a small simple cross on the place where was a mass grave.
Are those also bullet holes in the church?
Yeah, some fragments, some bullet holes.
What is
It's just a brick because the church wasn't finished. It's a construct building here, so it's a bricks for the square around, you know.
so they were building the church when this all happened?
Yeah. It's a finished till now.
Mm. And over there was where the mass grave was?
You see that markings and the wooden torch, like
Yeah.
wooden fence. Here were trench. So here you can see the dimensions of trench. You see the fresh soil.
Yeah, I see it.
With the trench.
And how many did you say were?
170 dead bodies just in that one trench. But
170.
Also was another one trench near to the cemetery and another one on the children camp. So totally 350 dead bodies of civilians in 3 different trenches.
This is exactly like what the Nazis would do.
Yep.
Departing from Bucha, we took a brief journey to our next stop, Irpin. Much like Borodyanka, Irpin remains heavily ravaged. My visit to this place is an experience that I will never forget.
And what hit this building?
Air bombers. And after that, street fights, shelling, artillery, everything, to be honest. Here was a front line. First, it was attacked by air bombers, after by the street fights.
Yeah, because this is completely ruined.
Don't take the pictures to the left, but on the left here is a military hospital, which was totally destroyed. Just imagine that the hospital also destroyed.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yep.
It's really like the evil. There's no other way to describe it. It's barbarism.
On the fateful day of February 25th, amid the fog of war and the breakdown in communication, a convoy of OMON and SOBR units from Kemerovo Oblast found themselves separated from the main invasion force. Misguided and without direction, they charged headlong towards Kyiv. But fate had other plans, as the convoy was ambushed at a bridge spanning the Irpin river. Despite their determination, the unarmored and under-equipped units met a tragic end, with only 3 wounded men surviving the devastating encounter. By February 27th, the relentless Russian ground forces advanced into Bucha, breaking the city's defenses and storming towards Irpin. The fierce battle that ensued saw steel behemoths clashing within the city limits, while Ukrainian infantry courageously engaged Russian paratroopers. In an attempt to halt the invaders' progress, Ukrainian forces unleashed a storm of rockets, artillery and airstrikes, ultimately annihilating the crucial bridge that connected Bucha and Irpin. Throughout early March, the tide of battle shifted as Russian forces began to falter, facing mounting casualties and meeting their match at unfavorable borders. Undaunted, the invaders managed to capture part of Irpin on March 6th. Their ruthless tactics cost the lives of many innocent civilians, as an evacuation attempt saw 8 lives, including 2 young children, lost to Russian mortar shelling. Refusing to bow to the invaders, Ukrainian forces fought back with renewed vigor, gradually pushing the enemy back. On March 13th, amidst the chaos, Russian forces opened fire on a car carrying foreign journalists, claiming the life of American journalist Brent Renaud and injuring 2 others. As the battle raged on, Ukrainian forces doggedly reclaimed their territory, announcing on March 23rd that they controlled 80% of Irpin. By March 28th, in a triumphant display of resilience and defiance, Irpin was fully recaptured by Ukrainian forces, a victory later confirmed by international news outlets like Reuters and CNN. Against all odds, the city of Irpin had been fully liberated. A year has passed since the fierce battle, and though the city of Irpin still bears the scars of conflict, it stands as a testament to the resilience of its people.
It's nice with all the flowers painted on them.
The locals, undaunted by the devastation, hold on to a powerful belief that with time, Irpin and all other liberated cities will rise from the ashes stronger and more vibrant than ever before. In the hearts of the people, the spirit of hope and determination burns bright, illuminating the path towards a brighter future for their beloved city.
This is Irpin, another city completely ruined by the Russians. This is a perfect example of the Russian world. Take a look. Bullet holes everywhere. All the buildings are completely ruined. Some of these buildings, like this one, was hit by aerial bombardment, with civilians still inside, of course. The Russians don't care. This is the Russian world. So this civilian car completely riddled with bullets. Ruski mir. Slava Ukraini.
As we departed Irpin and made our way back towards Kyiv, we couldn't help but notice the demolished bridge that a year prior had been etched into the memories of countless individuals.
It will stay like this?
Unfortunately,
Thousands of refugees navigated the treacherous remnants of this bridge, facing an unyielding barrage of Russian mortar and artillery fire as they sought to escape from Vladimir Putin's advancing forces. Today, the ruins of the bridge serve as a powerful testament to their bravery and to the indomitable spirit of the people who fought for their freedom. This seemingly unremarkable green space marks the nearest point that the Russian forces got to Kyiv before being repelled, a mere 1.5 kilometers from the Ukrainian positions on the outskirts of the capital.
and 1.5 kilometer to the Ukrainian positions.
And this is the furthest the Russians came to Kyiv?
Yeah, that's all. And again, it's on the other bank of Irpin river.
So this is where the Russians were stopped?
Yep.
No problem.
I didn't expect that he will move directly ahead.
Never trust other drivers.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which country you are in.
I understood it when I was in Madagascar.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed the video and that it was informative for you. I would be very happy if you would like the video, leave a comment and also subscribe to my channel. I also want to say a big thank you to the people that visit Ukraine. Hannah, Jan and Natalia, if you're watching, thank you so much. You are all amazing and awesome people and I hope to see you again next time I visit Ukraine.